kind of like a, I think people like Michael Jordan. That's kind of a unique kind of character.
And I have
You just see how games and possessions are more intense, how they mean more. I think the U.S. is going to all of a sudden.
Welcome back to another episode of Nothing But Respect. My name is Patrick Redford. I am joined, as always, by Harry Krinsky, and dressed in head-to-toe Kith Knicks collab, reporting live from the Popeyes, the Checkers, and the Dunkin' Donuts at the Myrtle Broadway stop. Bro is aura farming. It's Noah Kulwin. Noah, how are you?
What's good? What's up, fam? How's it going? Just, keeping it really on, like, I just want everybody, shout out to everybody in, like, Rockford, Illinois who gets really triggered by that photo. I love and respect you. It's not at all a sign of your weak constitution that you are destabilized by a photo of 3 fast food restaurants next to each other. You're good, dog. Anyway, what's up, guys?
We are happy to have you. My association with that place in real life, as a New Yorker who sees it, not just mediated through Twitter.com, is it's always on my bike ride to go play basketball. Because I play at this court in Bushwick sometimes, and I'm like, oh, huh. They got that's the meme. They made the meme in real life.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm a grown-up and I've lived here for a while, I see that and I think of, like, oh, that's, like, around the corner from that house I went to that, like, time, you know, when I moved here early on. And I had friends who lived there. Because, again, it's New York City. I mean, it is, like, a funny, like, and it's just not that special. It's like anywhere else. I just think it is really funny, though, that image, like, makes people fucking, like, froth with anger.
It is so funny because, like, the experience of being in, like, a normal ass American city is one where 3 fast food restaurants are all kissing next to each other in the same strip mall. That's like an eternal American condition, like maybe that's the one place in New York where it happens. But I do find its eternal recurrence very fascinating. Like, it sort of resisted the normal meme life cycle. Like, you would think that, I don't know, 3 or 4 years after people thought it was so funny that this was happening, like, it's sort of like an idiot test for a person who's lived in New York for under a year. I say as someone who's never lived in New York.
I mean, I will say that it is, New York, like Benghazi, it ain't going away.
I was gonna say much like the Knicks' eternal optimism, the ability for small groups of New York to become extremely outsized in their mimetic value continues. And the only other thing I wanted to add to this, because we're really happy to have you here, is much like how all this AAU ruined the rivalries of the old NBA because people are just they're all good friends, right? The Patreon model and Substack and the changing Dark Forest Twitter, it's ruining the podcast beefs of the old time. I remember the Pod Save America Chapo Trap House wars. Like those guys hang out together. They've invested in property. They actually own the Checkers, the franchise Checkers together. And I bring that up because we are sadly, I guess, examples of this new era of where podcasters just like each other, because we over here are huge fans of Blowback, and thrilled to have you on. So sorry it comes at the expense of Real Ball ending.
Listen, Real Ball is ending. It's true, because there's really no set of games that matters more than, like, the last 6 weeks of the season. But listen, I'm here now when it matters, arguably. Like the play-in tonight, tomorrow.
You're showing up for the big moments, like Heat Bulls. That cannot be missed. Like, we have a 45-minute Josh Giddey segment in C Block, so I don't want to get ourselves too much.
It is funny actually, because we will get into the Warriors Memphis play-in game a little bit, but the first thing before we want to talk Knicks with you. We want to talk kind of where you're at to kick off an exciting little playoff preview we got going. But I'm teasing that now. But I want to start with talking Ja Morant. So I don't know. I have some thoughts on it, but what are your guys' takes of this, like, grenade celebration Cold War that's going on.
I want to like it more than I unfortunately do. Like you do see this take going around all the time where people show like Jamal Murray shooting an arrow or like some other player doing a gun celebration, and they're like, league has singled out Ja because he's black, basically, is like the subtext. And like, you know, I think that's like a fair take to take into like a certain point, but like none of those other guys have been suspended for doing tricks with it on Instagram Live after a road loss to the Nuggets and like carrying a gun across state lines. Like, you know, we do sort of exist in the context of all in which we live. Although I do find it very funny that he has doubled down, and I just wonder that like, can he continue to find larger munitions to do this with? Like, I feel like bazooka grenade launcher is sort of like about as big as we can go. Although Noah, you're sort of you're like the warfare expert here, so you're the right person to have on right now.
Listen, man, it's asymmetric, you know. I think that in this instance, you know, he's fighting for his life. The crooked NBA media is you know, they want to suppress any enthusiasm for the game of basketball at this moment, for inexplicable reasons, as they have all season. But in the case of like, I see the grenade thing and I'm like, that's funny. Like, that's a great joke. Because it's what the fuck? Like what? He's gonna start doing grenade tricks on Instagram Live now? No, come on. Like,
that would be cool.
Like, to me, it was, you know, like, there's been no issues with the gun stuff this season. Like, it's just like the game. And also, look, I will get on the level of like half the fucking like the word most commonly spoken about basketball, the sport of basketball, in relation to the sport, is ball. The second is shoot.
Right.
And like,
wow.
You know, like the number of times you see, like, I see Mikal Bridges, you know, like, or Brunson, like, you know, put up two index finger, middle finger, and their thumb, and it's like, it happens to, you know, be the shape of a gun with your hand, but also, and they don't want you to know this. What I'm about to tell you, they don't want you to know this. If
Clip
you
this.
have your thumb pointed up and you put your index finger next to the middle finger, that's 3 fingers, but it's also a gun.
A gun.
It's a gun.
Fuck.
So is Ja Morant. So I think like it's a thing to yap about. Like, I understand why people are getting head up about it, and I think because it's just yapping is why Ja feels like fine doing that grenade bit, and it's all good league stuff. The Ja off-year stuff is funny and sad to me at the same time, because like, it is like, so you've got this guy who's incredibly skilled with like pick and roll plays. He can fucking yam. He's awesome. And we're going to like work him into this very clever and well-designed offense, but that like does no pick and rolls at all. And so then it's like, okay, now like the star, the face of this franchise, a guy who sells like in the top 10 of jerseys in the league, has a, you know, a big shoe deal and so on, is in like his 3rd straight down year, I think, like statistically.
Yep.
And
especially if you, one disaster year, then 1 year plagued by injury, and then
so it's so there's like and then there's all the injury shit, and so I think like the Ja Memphis stuff, like, as we kind of saw after Taylor Jenkins, like, it's a very small sample size, but like after they fired Jenkins, like, he had some fucking games. Yeah, he had some games.
Yeah, the thing with Ja that I feel like the discourse always sort of starts like a little bit wrong-footed is because he is so stylish and so cool, and sort of came into the league like kind of what the AAU point Harry was making, where like the professionalization of the lower levels had gotten to the point where like you could see a certain homogenization of the types of players that come in, and like Ja like doesn't really shoot the basketball, but he's just like crazy athletic, super cool. And you could look at someone like him. He talks crazy shit, which is cool. And you look at someone like him and you're like, okay, Ja and Zion are like this antidote of like this sort of boring direction the game is going. And I think that's why people are like so sort of disappointed in him. And there's also this other undercurrent that I don't really know how to read of like, oh, actually Ja's from like a nice suburb in South Carolina.
I hate
this,
that.
Like,
sorry. That's that.
Yeah.
I hate that shit. Whenever I hear that, I think it's the corniest fucking thing you could possibly say about the situation.
Wait, and what is because this isn't even I don't we need to go too far down on this, but what's the
implication?
implication?
Line is basically is like the whitest people. you have ever seen.
Yeah.
People who can't take out the trash without sunscreen going on, complaining that John Morant didn't grow up hood enough. Like, that's the essence of it.
And they show that photo of him in the pink polo, and they're just like, this is who you think is going to save the game. Like, he's basically plagued by this Allen Iverson comparison, I think.
So the last few jaw sort of leading up to the game things I wanted to say was, one, big picture, I am sympathetic in a certain sense to where Jaw is if I am like coming from the perspective of like helping him get hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, because he is, I can't think of a player who has more possible financial upside from having a superstar year this year than anybody else, because he is in this moment where one more year of obscurity and he's like probably lost the sauce of like superstar $400 million shoe deal, and one, popping off year like could rekindle what was 2 years ago the most hyped young basketball player in the NBA.
I listened to Tom Haberstroh and Dan Devine's podcast, The Big Number, and like I was pretty shocked that they were just pretty brazenly being like, "What if they just trade Ja?" And that to me is like, that seems kind of nuts to me. I mean, I understand it like logically, like in the same way that like there is like a part of my brain that does understand that if the Knicks were to take advantage of that insane contract Brunson signed, like they could. Like we could put a team, we could do some damage, but I also know that that's evil and insane, and also perhaps in the Knicks case not actually the best thing to do. But like in Memphis case, like that seems kind of nuts to talk about like a superstar guy like this or whatever, and then in the same breath be like, and maybe it's in the best interest of his team to dump him. Like, right. Whoa.
Yeah, the thing with Ja that I've always liked is that like he is a spectacular passer, but even when he was at college he would make like the little connective passes super well, and like I think because he is so flashy, people do sort of like not see the ways he's super solid. But you brought up the Knicks there, Noah, and one of the reasons we wanted to have you on is that you have sort of had this like ball reconvergence over whatever that word is supposed to mean over the past few years. Yeah. Exactly. You've like gotten way more back into it. And I wanted to ask sort of like how that process happened, and like what about these Knicks teams specifically that like got you so into it?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the first answer is that the less and less I am able to like look at like the state of the world and like feel good, the more and more I've like really kind of re-immersed myself in being a sports fan, and that is just like that to me, because like I saw the notes for this pod, and I was thinking about that question. I was like, what was it? Because I hadn't actively considered it before, and I thought like, well, if I'm being like as honest as I can be, like that actually is probably the relationship. Right. The other thing has been that a couple of very generous friends have taken me to MSG at different points, and I've actually, and Barclays and the Garden especially, but like seeing NBA ball live is also, it's like, oh wow, this is just like an incredible game. Like the product is great. Like they're lying to you. They are lying to you. Like it's a really entertaining, wonderful thing. And the Knicks in particular have like players who like I just enjoy, like Josh Hart is somebody you enjoy like rooting for. Like he does boneheaded shit. Like I remember one time like a foul on Kobe White shooting a three cost the Knicks like a game against the Bulls, and it like I wanted to like jump out of my apartment bedroom window. But I also like he's Josh Hart. He's like he's a guard. He's a tiny guy who gets more boards than most guys 7 inches taller than him, and then or even more. And then and just the kind of experience of it's like, oh, like there is like this anxiety undergirding the excitement for this team, which is that like the Knicks, like my entire life, basically, because I don't realistically remember anything about the Ewing years, have been like total dog shit, like embarrassing, and like epically mismanaged and all this stuff. And like the idea of like the Knicks being like a feel good story is like very appealing. As a kid, I was a Jersey Nets fan, but when they moved to Brooklyn, I kind of took that as like a license to be like, I don't really care about them anymore.
You're like, I'll never end up in Brooklyn. I'm not,
actually, it
guy
was
like me. I'm not.
I think it really came down to like the time, because it was like Prokhorov and like those teams sucked.
Yeah.
And like the team, like the prospects weren't that great, and like, it just it did feel to me silly as it were in retrospect at the time. I was like, well, fuck you for leaving New Jersey.
Yeah.
How dare you? I will never do this in the future. Yeah. So it was, a combination of all the factors, but like when this season started, like, I actually was like excited. I was like, oh wow, like the Towns trade, like the McKell trade, like these are like, they want to do something, and I also got back into being a big Mets fan, which I was much more reliably my whole life, with the OMG Mets season last year. And I think that like I'm totally now just still chasing that high wherever I can get it. And it's followed me. I followed it. It was happening at the same time, truthfully, as I, as like my excitement for the NBA. So it totally, it was the experience of like as simple, it was both like all that shit I said about like the wider world, and it was also like, oh yeah, like I live in New York City, and two of our teams are getting good. Awesome.
I love and it totally makes sense. The as the kind of world gets more bleak, the idea of turning to sports. I did find myself chuckling about the idea of like they trade Brunson next year, and some of your friends are like, you know what, we gotta go protest James Dolan. We need some direct action. And you're like, hello darkness, my
yeah, exactly.
Can't escape it.
I would rather it is like interesting because it's like, it's obviously not that like sports especially the NBA like don't have politics or anything like that, but it is just like increasingly clear to me that if you are able to like tune out the McAfee of it all, then like sports as it is in American life right now, it does feel like very much like, well, here, what if there is like this segment of society that's like doing fine,
Yeah.
They complain about the quality of it all the time. They've always done it. In fact, that's like the most commonplace joke about people who enjoy sports, is that at every age they're like, it was better in my day.
Yeah. And I think like I was talking to a friend who he's become a big Florida Gators fan, and we were talking about the tension of him rooting for that team while also knowing that Todd Golden, like a huge fucking piece of shit, is going to have this like career capping triumph. And basically the point we got to is that sports allows you to like think through these like big contradictions and sort of like annoying like things you have to accept in your life, and like you don't have to make peace with all of them, but like I think it allows you to work out some of these like thornier like personal things in like an arena where there really are like way lower stakes, like way fewer stakes.
I would argue that just as there is like no ethical consumption under capitalism, as the famous like Pinterest level slogan at this point goes, that I don't totally, that is kind of stupid, but whatever, we'll take it at face value for a second. I also think that like there is no like pure fucking sports franchise.
Yes,
like,
of course, yeah.
And it's always, that is like true haven of the scoundrel territory to me.
Mm-hmm.
What is there is no ethical consumption under capitalism for basketball term? is it like hand down, man down? Like,
yeah, basically. I mean, ball don't lie.
Ball don't lie is pretty good, yeah.
Like that, where it's like sort of spiritually true, but also like not really. Like if you really interrogate it, like the ball often does lie. And also
like the ball is very deceitful.
The ball can be deceitful. Yeah.
And like the framework of ethical consumption feels like mildly contradictory in terms in the same way.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's why it's also it's like consumption. Like there's no ethical consumption. It's like great, then don't consume. Have fun. Enjoy like wasting away.
Well, and this is something we've talked about a little bit on this show, is like this inherent tension of fandom that I think more people would do well to like interrogate, is that you watch the team for the players, you root for the players, but ultimately if your allegiance is to the franchise, you are like sort of aligned with ownership like against the players, and you get to this crazy position where you're like rooting for Matt Ishbia to like put Bradley Beal's head on a spike because you want like his franchise valuation to like go up so they can make the playoffs or whatever.
I do think that like Bradley Beal is like, so obviously it's like a meme right now to be
hero.
Like, people no, it's or the other way around. Like if you're a Suns fan, right? It's like you know that like Wall Street, like the Wall Street Journal right now, like if you read it, like the editorial pages and acrostic, like it's like a for hire page for like a hitman to take out Trump. Like Wall Street Capital, like he is like the president has touched on, molested the money. Like they're really angry at him, and they want something to be done about it. And I think that like Bradley and like Elon Musk falls into this category. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, Abu Barstool al-Baghdadi himself, Dave Portnoy. Like these are all guys who I think like, you know, are on this list. And for a lot of people, I'm not saying myself.
Not
I'm saying
necessarily. Who's to say?
But I think that like Bradley Beal has occupied that space now for like the Phoenix metro area.
Yeah, you could even say Trump sort of put in a no trade clause.
Have you seen,
that's so right. Oh God.
Have you seen the stuff with the lawsuit against all the Barstool guys and McAfee who like spread that? That reminds me of the Syrian civil war, because you basically have like,
all right, everybody take a shot. Who's falling at home every time?
Well, like the Ole Miss frat. I don't want to get us sued, but basically, you know, the climate which that's coming, Ole Miss SEC frat scene, that is like red meat for Barstool. So there really is this like the internal tensions of this like once coherent polity, or like, I mean, I assume that's what happened in the Syrian Civil War. You guys haven't done a season on that yet, have you?
Blowback
you're off the hook, and I don't know.
I'm trying to get a guest spot here.
Yeah.
I think. Look, I'll say this. Keep having me on, and we'll talk about that guest spot. But I think the like those apology videos. I forget. It was a Defector person, I think, right? Who said
Sammer.
The snapback,
donning my formal snapback to apologize for ruining this girl's life. Just a beautiful sentence.
It is so funny though, but then it got me thinking, right? Like, okay, so we got like the Barstool guys, and they're, you know, they're looking like Kevin Smith doing like the big eyes, like at the camera thing. Like, what would be like other funny examples of that in the media? Like if some, you know, like obviously like people like there's like not who the apology is for, like that's a bit elaborate, but just like who do I want to see have to do that? Like,
I have a great one.
Yes.
Because this happened recently, and I've actually not been able to stop talking about it with the right people. There is a front-facing video out there of Adam 22 of No Jumper announcing that No Jumper has gone broke. It's almost like exactly what you're asking for. It's like a really strange and kind of frank front-facing video where Adam 22 outlines the business failures of No Jumper over the last 3 years in this way that is actually really funny, because he's taking his own sort of ridiculous premise very seriously, where he's being like, yeah, we saw like a decrease in appetite for interviews with OnlyFans models. And it's like, yeah, you think?
Yeah, you know, people got kind of tired of us just being like really demeaning to women. Yeah, like as like our, you know, without like the pretext of it being filtered through like sports or culture or music, just the thing unadorned, and people got tired of it. And also, I look like a human blister covered in tattoos, and it's a video
crazy
podcast
way for a guy to look.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a Prison Break, the TV show? Yeah. He looks like the Prison Break guy, but except it's like mapping the fuck. This was gonna be a funny joke. What's the fucking neighborhood in Los Angeles where the no jumper thing is? Not Santa Monica.
What are they in? Like, I assume that I have no fucking Venice.
Whatever.
LA is not my problem.
Just imagine a good joke. Prison Break tattoo instead mapping to find the Supreme store. That's what I was going for.
Much like John Morant's game, Harry's riff there has like a lot of like really interest. It has like the brilliant insight, but not necessarily the connective tissue.
That's right. That's right.
Just get back in the lab.
Well, let's the other reason we wanted to. Or when we asked you to come on, Noah, the first kind of thing that you asked us, because we were like, any topics you want to talk about, and you hit the nail on the head, which I think is the question of the Knicks season, which is like, basically, why are the Knicks good but also bad?
Yeah, because it's really like, it's a very strange thing to root for a team that got to 50 wins, and none of them came against good teams. I saw that, and I will say that like the one other thing I'll add to this is that like the Knicks also struggled to close against some very bad teams.
Totally. Let me
late game fuck ups, right?
Yes.
Let me outline the because the numbers completely back this up. They were the fifth best in offensive efficiency, which is really good. That's like teams win the championship when they're fifth in offense, 15 in defense, which is whatever, could be better, but actually not terrible. 8 in net rating, which is again championship level type of thing. They won 50 games. They were and this is per Owen Phillips, a great little breakdown on his Substack today. They were 6-16 against top 10 teams, 19 and 12 against the middle, and then 26-3 against the top best teams. So the 6-16 is a total outlier.
That's crazy.
Among the other good teams. They 6-6 team against the best 10 teams.
And when it's the best, by the way, that's a best that doesn't include the Cavs or the Celtics.
Right.
Whom they like, those 6 are against like the Grizzlies, the Nuggets. I think they got one on a decent West Coast team, like the Warriors or some, or the
yeah.
I'm scrolling through their results right now. I think their best win is like at the Wolves in December, and they won by like 30?
When the Wolves were sucking, because I saw them play the Wolves in January with you here. Yeah. We saw
and they didn't have who did they
Towns.
Yes.
They didn't have Towns, and Ant dropped 31 on them.
Yeah,
and it's like, I think a lot of it, there has been some like weird health stuff, which is to say that like sometimes Towns is out. He had that finger thing. And like Towns and Brunson are kind of like the things that can't break for this team to work as constructed. They also like didn't have Mitchell Robinson, which meant that I had to watch a lot of Jericho Sims, and which
that
is
guy
really
looks like a football player, like on hitting the rec thing at Michigan, like on during the spring.
Yeah, but it was, and then the other piece of this is that like, I never really, I mean, we'll get to it with like what the actual like figuring out because there's more to say about their records, because what's also nuts, by the way, is like, I think you like, the other teams that have done better against the top 10 teams. Like, it's not just that like the Knicks are an outlier amongst good teams in doing that bad against the top 10. It's that like even bad teams do better against the top 10, because that's just like the math of wins and losses in an NBA season.
No, totally. The Pistons, the Bulls, the Spurs, and the Trailblazers all have better records than the Knicks against top 10 teams.
That's nuts. And I feel like the thing to start with every Knicks and Tibbs team, and I have watched like probably 20 or 30 Knicks games this season, because every time they're on national TV, it's like, oh, Knicks Celtics tonight, that'll be fun. And I turn it on and they're down by 30 in the first half. Like, I'm not watching that garbage. How much have you felt the Tibbsiness? Because this year more than ever, like that like thing where you just play 7 guys, 35 minutes a game, like that is so cutting against the grain of like what the most interesting teams are doing now. Like I talked about that Rockets win. Like that is interesting because the Rockets are one of these teams that plays like 15 guys, 12 minutes a game. So like, have you have you noticed it being a problem in this regular season? And like, how do you feel about like the load everyone has had to carry going into the playoffs?
I like the load thing only really began to worry me when Mikal Bridges went to, I think it was the New York Post, like, or whatever, like, and to complain about it because, which was kind of swept under the rug, I'll say, because like, I think that if like the guy you traded a zillion picks for, who's not having the year that you wanted him to have, like goes to the press and says like, it's too much sometimes. And this is the guy, by the way, who has an iron, is like, I think now, is it the longest or the second longest like active Ironman streak in the league?
This is 3 years in a row of him fouling 5 seconds into game 82, which like, talk shit about it if you want it. But, if you do that, you have to get there 3 times in a row for that to matter.
Like, that's fine. I mean, I thought that was a joke that people talk shit about that. Like, what, he's supposed to... No, fuck that. Anyway,
yeah.
Like, Eli Manning did that. Whatever. The point being that, like, there's... like the minute stuff felt like kind of a meme, and it was a meme backed up by real math. Like you see like these players out there, but like also like this management like kind of built this team to accommodate that. That's partly how Tibbs has always played guys, and like these are guys who are like they get on the bench and then like they want to get out immediately. Like it's not like, I don't think that it's hack to say that that's how like OG Anunoby or like Josh Hart, like that those are their attitudes. Like that's like they're a good fit for this. That's why those guys have thrived, especially OG, who's I think like performed above expectations even.
He's been so good.
He's amazing. So like the Tibbsiness of it all didn't really get to me until like the Mikal like kind of saying it's a bit much. Because then it's kind of showed, well, why is that? Because Tibbs started to relent after that. And the reality is that like the Knicks bench is in a difficult place because you've got like a couple guys. You've got Deuce, you've got Mitchell Robinson, who arguably should be starting in some situation. I think you could make that case, even though he doesn't play crazy minutes. But like you've got those two guys, and then Precious
Shamet,
Precious Achiuwa.
The apology better be as loud as the disrespect.
And Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet, the most disrespected man in the NBA.
That's a good drop.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Landry Shamet's an easy fucking name to say, and it's like made to be Landry Shamet. We're nominating Landry Shamet.
Yeah, it does sound like
like he's yes, he killed 5 people in Afghanistan in the Helmand province, but we love him.
Landry Shamet is like the name of like a Trump 1 Secretary of the Interior who has to resign after 18 months for taking like the most hilarious bribes from Chevron or some shit.
Yeah, he's got a
Landry
podcast.
Shamet, he texts too much.
It's on Rumble only. Like it's a Rumble exclusive.
Yeah,
podcast.
I mean, I hate on Landry Shamet in private life, but publicly I will show solidarity with every Knick. But no, the reality is that like the Knicks bench is just unable to compete at the level that like this team is supposed. Like that's how it feels when I watch them come out. It sucks, and like there's some good shooters there. Like that Wolves game, we saw like Campaign hung a crazy number of points on the Wolves in like just a few minutes on the floor. Like they're guys who can do stuff against good teams in the right situations, but. I really, if I have to watch like Precious Achiuwa like chunk another long 2 in transition, I want to die.
There's kind of this interesting phenomenon where like, especially compared to the Lakers, because the Knicks and Lakers, I think of these sort of like cosmic twins where like Lakers fans will just be like, Jared Vanderbilt should be first team All NBA. Whereas Knicks fans are like, look, Tyler Kolek, learn Chinese, buddy. Like we fucking hate you. Like there's this real.
Actually, okay, it's funny you say him though, because like the Knicks, like, because there's no group of people I hate more than Knicks Twitter accounts. Like truly some of the most like disgusting people in the world. And there's like this whole fucking like wave of people like, why is Tibbs not giving Tyler Kolek minutes?
Yes.
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Serious?
Yes.
Like that's part of Nick's Twitter. Like that is because I remember, and I actually. Noah, I love this about Nick. From afar, I'm like, we need more of this. Like, I was watching or listening to like Drive Time Radio a little while ago, and it was a guy just calling in, being like, this was a few years ago, being like, Emmanuel quickly needs to be starting over Jalen Brunson. He can shoot. It's like that's awesome. Their level of kind of refrain from anything logical is great.
I just don't get it. Like, it's like, what, Daddy A is supposed to save our fucking season? Save a season, by the way, that's going fine. Like, the not winning games against good teams, like, that to me is a sign that, like, the playoff expectations should not be high. But, like, on the whole, like, it's fine. It's not like just look down I-95, man. Like that's a disaster. Like, they're the one, and also like that's a disaster that like is like they actually do need to figure out like what's going on in like a real like crazy cosmic way. Like, this season, it seems like that the consensus like among like knowledgeable NBA media people is that if it doesn't go well, like if Tibbs doesn't have a really good second series, like if they don't just clear the Pistons, and then if they like get blown out in an embarrassing way in the second series, then like Tibbs may be gone. And Rose wouldn't be, but Tibbs would be. And like, you know, like to your point about like, you know, it's like, what the fuck am I going to do about it? Like, I don't like, it's like, I just hope that they don't hire somebody. Like, if that's the situation, I just hope that they don't hire like, I don't know,
from TV.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, yeah, that's true, but like, I really have to temper that because I was a big JJ Redick shit talker, and like, he is just he's just objective. Like, I've watched like a couple. Yeah, I've watched like a couple of YouTube videos. You know, because like the way I have to learn about this stuff is I have to watch a YouTube video where somebody slowly explains this stuff, and like, and somebody was explaining how it's like, yeah, here's how JJ Redick schemes with like fucking like Jackson Hayes, like you know, and it's like, all right, I see it, I get the hype.
He's got podcaster brain. It's you know.
Well, I also liked your conversation with Owen Phillips about how like he's also as a millennial consuming things in a way that like other coaches aren't, and that to me feels like a really true thing that like is, you know, like without having crazy particular knowledge or anything at all really about like how the Lakers like how their fucking tape room works or whatever. It does just strike me though that that's just like how generational turnover works, period. That like younger generations are more acquainted with like how the players themselves, you know, because also I mean, as in the case of Redick, some of these coaches are recent players, are you know, it's like the good version of Derek Fisher being a coach, you know. Like it's like they actually have like a high propensity to like retain information about like what's new and novel and what might work and could be a difference, beyond just like having the best players on your team.
Yeah. And like the thing is, the Knicks do have a lot of really great players. Like they're built to like win in the playoffs. Like the rotations thing, I feel like that matters in the playoffs in the sense that like these guys will have more miles in their legs, but it's like, okay, playing 7 guys that many minutes is like, that's just kind of how things work in the playoffs. And like,
yes,
and like last year,
1000%.
I was looking at the box score for the game 7. Do you know how many minutes Miles McBride played in that game?
How
40.
many?
Everyone got all hurt and fucked up. And like, there's a certain, you can price in some of the wear and tear there, but I honestly think they just kind of got injured at the wrong time and like shit happened.
I think I agree with that too. I also think that like that team is not as like, so Knicks fan, the other trend in like Knicks fandom now is to like be like, I miss when mom and dad were together. I miss when we had Dante DiVincenzo and Isaiah Hartenstein. Interesting observation, by the way, that people seem to miss those two players. Moving on. I do think that like there's just this like insane fucking cope for like the Knicks not running away with the East or something by like, oh, remember when like how things were so awesome with, you know, last year because the expectations were way lower, and that's why everybody was so happy that they, you know, like it's I feel that it's like that is this like you're totally right that like the Knicks team is like the talent level of the team is one that should be competing at a higher level than they have been. And like, you know, usually that like, the deductive reasoning there suggests like maybe it's something with the coaching, maybe there's something fucked up in the locker room. And like, you know, they've actually done some kind of creative stuff to shore up the locker room, like fucking PJ Tucker coming in, which I love.
Me too, dude.
It's so funny. You know, I like, it's It's interesting. I'm not a doomer about it. I just like the fact that like they like can't hang, like that they blow a 23, even if it's a Mickey Mouse game, the fact that like they blow a 23-point lead or whatever against the Cavs is like, you know, like it doesn't feel great. And sometimes I do think it is because like, yeah, like set aside like load management issues or whatever, it's just that like you do need to sometimes pull guys who are beyond those 7 just because like it's the game. And whenever the Knicks do that, it just is like, oh, great. Awesome.
Can I make the case for the Knicks?
Please, go for it.
Because I actually feel like a weird amount of optimism for this playoff specifically. Because if you look at how the Knicks are built, they are built to beat the Celtics. And I would not trust them in a series against this version of these Cavs, but like, nor would I like really trust them in the Celtics. But like, they have a better chance, I think, of beating them in that second round. So like, I think they'll beat the Pistons.
I think
I think Cade. I really want Cade to have like an incredible MSG moment and drop like 55, and then, I mean, I probably be rooting for the Pistons, but like whatever. That's a cool series. I think the Knicks will. They're just like too big and they'll kick the shit out of them. On all those like Malik Beasley 37 points and 11 threes, that shit is just like if you have Bridges in your face, like it's not gonna.
Yeah,
work.
I'm like I agree with that. I also think that they're gonna. I think that the Knicks getting the Pistons is actually okay because I do kind of like I'll eat my word. Watch me eat my words on this. Like I actually am not really worried about the Pistons. I like they don't really concern me. I don't think that they'll like. I think Cade is awesome. He's great, but I kind of buy the consensus on that because there's like, well, or it's like a consensus and counter consensus is how it feels because like first there's like, oh, buy Pistons. They're great. Like they're so exciting. Like look at how dynamic the first Detroit team that anybody feels good about, in like 20 years, whatever. And then like the reality of it is like, yeah, I still think that like, that's not like if they were playing the Bucks, like sure.
Yeah.
But they're not. So.
And like the way Cade specifically plays is like OG is like the guy you'd want to counter that because he's sort of like Luka in the sense that like his game is kind of built around this ability to like just put his ass into someone and like get 10 feet of free space by just beating the shit out of them. And like OG will just stand his ass up. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, he's trying to make these cool passes from 22 feet instead of 12. And again, like if you just have someone stick on Malik, like they don't really have like another good offensive player. And I think we're in for an ugly series. But again, like this Knicks team is built to win ugly. Like
I hope so. The thing that I always like get worried about with the Knicks is that and some of this, like I'm not sure how it evolved over the season, but at one point, like the Knicks were looking like truly wretched in their 3 defense. And like, against the Celtics, that's a problem for an obvious reason. But like, it's really fucking annoying when you're watching like kind of like scrubby, like when they lose to the Hawks, that's what happens. Is that it's like they're just not like people are just left open all the time, and Clyde Frazier starts to sound very sad. Like it's a very weird like that. I worry about, and like the Malik Beasley experience again. I agree. Like yeah, that's not really for the playoffs. That's not how that's going to go down because Mikal Bridges will be in his face, and despite like Mikal having some issues on like Jason Tatum, a top 5 NBA player, like Mikal Bridges will be able to bottle him up, I think.
The Tatum point is an interesting one, and I feel like the specific reason they got Bridges and OG is to be able to stick one of them on Brown and one of them on Tatum in like that specific series. Which hasn't really worked out for them this regular season. I mean,
Bridges. Well, OG on like the meme stats for this one, like that go around, or like that, like when OG's on Tatum, Tatum is bottled. When Bridges is on Tatum, he's not. So find a way to put OG on Bridges. On Tatum, and it's like, all right, like that sounds great. I don't know enough to know what liabilities that creates elsewhere on the court because last time I checked, the thing about the Celtics is that they're really fucking deep. And like, I don't know if like, okay, then like, well, then how do you handle Jalen? So it's like, I don't pretend to have any fucking idea of like how you actually scheme for this stuff like that. Not my department, not my problem.
Talking about the Celtics makes me feel kind of insane because you have to just go like 1.5 layers deep before you realize like they're just going to do 50 or 100 possessions where they just make one pass and someone shoots a 3. And like, if they make 22 of them, they win. If they make 17, they probably still win. And like, will the ball tell the truth or not is like not a fun point of analysis to land on, but it's kind of where I do with them.
And I do think ultimately the argument against the Celtics is that they don't have like the stones to like, or if they are to lose, it's basically like they don't have the balls to like hit 17 threes in a game where if they lose, they will go home and they will be ridiculed by the entire NBA, and that like one of the two stars is going to crack or whatever. And that there's a certain cosmic thing where like what they're doing is an affront to basketball. And so like there's a higher likelihood that will happen, which, I'm optimistic about. Should we transition? Actually, let's transition into the talking a little bit more about the specific. Well, let me back up. Me and Patrick are cooking. We got a serious playoff preview coming for you guys on this Thursday, probably maybe Friday. It's hard to tell. We're calling up some friends and family of the Nothing But Respect Tenopticon and the Respecticon, and going to be asking people to talk about their favorite or about their teams that are in the playoffs that they're big fans of, that they've been following, and kind of assess the season and assess the playoffs. So looking forward, looking backwards. Noah, we were going to originally thinking of having you in that cohort, but then we were like, let's just do a full episode. No, we got to talk about Syria. We got to talk about all the other things. But we did want to at the end here run you through some of these questions that we will be asking as a little aperitif for our loyal listeners. So
playoff preview.
It's a playoff preview, exactly. Some of this we got into, but let me ask you these first three questions, and then we'll get into the other ones. What are big picture? What are the vibes in Knicks land going into the playoffs? And then give me a best case scenario and a worst case scenario for like how this plays out.
I think the vibes are not good because people are like among Knicks. I mean, like, because Josh Hart posted something recently that was like, it wasn't like there's snakes in the grass or whatever, but like it felt in that vein.
Dude,
about,
Josh Hart, one thing on this.
Yeah.
Every 3 weeks, Josh Hart tweets something like, I'm going to kill Tibbs and I hate him. And then everybody gets mad and he's like, I was tweeting about Chelsea. Or like, I was tweeting about Tottenham. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He relies on his football fandom, his footy fandom, far too much.
He also, I mean, like, I also am like, I am anti-player podcast.
Wow.
I think
perfect.
it's like just, it doesn't do anybody any favors, least of all most players. I think it like is not really a peek under the hood so much as like an exercise in like trying to get like fish to ride the bicycle of content creation. And it's just like not like it's not like that I was in AAU for podcasting, but I would believe that people who are in AAU for basketball are like not intrinsically like people who should like do the Mike Francesa thing. Or like do an interview show and stuff like that. And watching more than 5 minutes of any of these things has always borne out that opinion, or justified it for me. And like, you know, like there was one where you're watching like Brunson essentially give Hart a pep talk, and Hart has like a kind of like the like the pair, like I know this wasn't how he looked, but like in my head the way I remember it is like he's got a hoodie on and he's got like the drawstrings pulled real tight and he's like wearing sunglasses and like kind of staring into the middle distance, and while Brunson is like talking about how like he's the fucking motivator, he's like the guy who always sets the pace on the floor, and you know he's the fire plug and all this and that. And you know like it's cool to see the pep talk, but also I'm like, I don't want to see, like, this doesn't give me, I don't feel good about how things are going to be when like stuff is on the line. If like this is the version, if like I'm just seeing this like kind of it play out in this way, it just feels like a little like there's the possibility that you know, for a worst case scenario for that to happen, which would be I mean, like the worst case scenario is I don't think that getting swept by the Pistons or anything like that is in the cards, but I do think like losing in 7 to the Pistons or losing in 6 to the Pistons would be like pretty humiliating. And I think like if that were to happen, then like there, you know, like if it turns out that like there's a bunch of waves of recrimination that comes out of that, I would be really upset because like they've done a really good job of giving the impression that like this is a group of guys and a management and a coaching situation that all like each other. And even if it doesn't work out, that it wasn't because like they spent a whole season choking down the fact that they hated each other's guts. The best case scenario, I think, though, despite all these vibes, is that like I think like a lot would have to happen, like but like you know,
come on, say it. They beat the Celtics. Fucking Jason Tatum.
Yes.
You know,
they go
places Deuce or something. Like
it's I think it's that like they beat the Celtics and it's you know there's but like and then it's to go up against like. I mean, granted, like, you know, I know that like the West is like it's like the deeper conference, but it's also like it has like the unknowns. You know, like the Thunder are still effectively unknowns. Like the Wolves have been so inconsistent and like might actually be sneaky terrible. You know, there's all these different ways to look at it. So like the best case for me is like, yeah, they beat the Celtics and then who knows what. But I would honestly, like, if they made the ECF, I would consider that, like, relative to how they performed this season, I would think that's amazing. Because that would mean that, like, they probably beat the Cavs, right?
At least like, at least Cavs or Celtics, right?
Well, yeah, the Celtics to make the ECF. Yeah.
So if you do, like, if they beat if that's what happens, then, like, I would consider that, like, successful, even though it's not really an improvement from last year. But, like, clearly they've got to work out some issues both with the roster and with the coaching because like again the reason despite being the 3 seed with this great record is that if you peek under the hood of it for just like a second you see that like oh yeah this is like a team that is incapable of like finishing 4 complete quarters against the teams that are good that aren't like the like they beat the Nuggets when it's like Jokic and like Jamal Murray was like still either injured or asleep, you know. Like it's just not like it really is like the word like the 6-16 is like lipstick on a pig as far as I'm concerned.
This has all the makings of like you guys beat the Pistons, you guys lose in the next round, and then Tibbs gets fired and you guys hire like either Coach Bud or like some assistant, and it's like from that second on the campaign starts. It's like Knicks year, baby. We got one more run with the boys.
I throw it to you on like I agree with you that everything up until like they hire Bud, but like because everything through like dispensing Tibbs, like I think that what you just described is the most likely outcome. I think the Cavs, who they most likely like they are a better team, like they just are, and so what is like what happens next? Like I have no idea like what coach they're supposed to even be thinking about.
Mike Brown. They're going to hire Mike Brown.
Oh, that would be fun. I could see it.
Because basically they'll hire Brown. He'll modernize the offense a little bit and sort of show them that like, you know how we take a lot of threes? Other teams do that too. And if we just stand like 2 feet closer to the line, they'll do that less. They'll make the conference finals 2 years in a row. And then the Mike Brown thing will happen where he basically forgets that you're allowed to make adjustments game by game and season by season. And then player revolt halfway through 27, 28, when they're basically 500, leads to the promotion of his lead assistant, who is, I guess maybe in this scenario, Jordy Fernandez has been fired and is now across town. Then he takes over. Then they win the title in 28, 29.
I feel like actually, if anything, because the Nets have had such a funny year, I would agree to another New York to New York transfer, and I would honestly that would be fine with me. But I really have no fucking idea like who even, because it doesn't seem like I really don't want them to go after Malone because Malone had that whole fucking fight. I mean, the big reason though, just because like it seemed just like how that whole fight with the front office went down was like picture perfect. Like this is how you waste Jokic prime years.
Right.
Like this is how you fuck a stranger in the ass.
Yeah.
Like,
Can you imagine
truly.
Dolan in that situation?
Oh my god.
So
Oh my, like it's already like whatever the fuck has happened to like chill him out so dramatically. Like I do not want that unsettled in the least.
I mean, right? We're shitting on it's fun. The Tibbs thing is tricky because I'm with you. I have very little tolerance for Tibbs ever since he kicked off the 2008 financial crisis by developing a defense in Boston, a new kind of defense in Boston. It always bugs me because I just always feel like the playing at its simplest level, playing your players a shit ton of minutes bumps up your regular. He's like a regular season minutes merchant, in the simplest way. But what this is like the what's that called? Relation or financial drift, happiness drift, whatever it is, where you're like you just get used to it. 5 years ago, the Knicks were in shambles.
I know. It's so crazy.
The idea that Tibbs has created not just a winning couple years, but basically the expectation of winning and the expectation of playing hard and drama-free and Dolan, and I honestly, and you're about to go experience this, I dead-ass think like the Sphere saved the Knicks. Because I think Dolan, I like for real feel this way. Like I think.
I mean,
Dolan,
listen, if
the Grateful Dead saved them.
Yeah, the Grateful Dead. Exactly.
Listen, I'll endorse that.
Yeah,
as somebody about to spend 3 nights at the Sphere, and
you're about to Sphere up, dude.
In like 3 days.
You're about to have the play-in tournament at the Sphere. You're
yeah, I'm gonna see. I mean, it is actually one of the funnier like moments I've had in the last year was I was at like a Dead cover show at the Cap in Port Chester, and we're watching, and it's the show's great, the vibe is wonderful, and I look to my left, and there's just like this really unfortunate looking guy who gives me like the wettest handshake. And then he's like watching, like, I think it's Knicks Nets, and it was a very close win for the Knicks, despite them playing the Nets. And he was really excited, and I was like, "That's so cool, man. Oh, you're a Knicks fan too? Like, that's great." And it was just because he had bet a ton of money on the Knicks. And I was like, "What?" And then I was like, and then it was like the double whammy of like, "Well, great. Now I just had this interaction," and I look up. And it's like at a fucking like I'm like in the middle of like drums in space or something, like and it's like, well, cool. Now I have to stand next to this asshole.
Your hand is wet. You're in an environment where it like classically smells crazy, and you're just thinking about this guy's FanDuel account. Like exactly. That's a tough scene.
Well, that was. I mean, it is like I do think that like sports betting is a way more public behavior than people realize. Like we were at a Mets game recently, and my girlfriend pointed out to me that like this lady was consoling her boyfriend next to us, and she and my girlfriend observed that there was like a lot of accounts, like it looked like on his screen, like he was going through a bunch of different apps that all had like showed different balances and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
I've got I wanted to. Do you have any final Knicks stuff before we go to our next thing?
Jalen Brunson. The coolest part of being a Knicks fan is that Jalen Brunson is actually the most clutch player in the NBA.
Yeah.
And like
he's
that,
crazy.
And so it is like exciting to feel that in the fourth quarter and to be so often vindicated that like there is a guy who can like step up against all levels of competition, and he can. And that is like one of the reasons why it's like even if the Knicks like don't win a ring or whatever, it's like it feels really cool to root for a team that like always has people that like really, that keep you in it and give you optimism about where it's going. And that's what I got.
I had a conversation with Vincent Cunningham last year about the Knicks and the Pacers, and he and I were talking about the difference between Halliburton and Brunson, and he was making the point that Halliburton has like coach's son energy.
Oh,
like you look at him and he's this kind of like nerdy actuarial overachiever guy who's like very in love with his own game. But then like I was thinking about Brunson, who actually is a coach's son, but his whole game is just like, I'm going to fight you. Like Giddy Nathan compared him to Graveler. Like he's just this like round little guy who bounces off everyone and like doesn't give a fuck and takes 20 free throws a game and keeps getting up. And like that is the kind of guy that is like so easy and so fun to root for,
Totally. and he has a good shot. Like he's not just like it's like one of it's like forget like ethical basketball debates or conversations, or the fact that like Brunson and Towns are like the first thing that they do after scoring or taking it to the hoop is turn to the ref. Despite like there is like their game is multi-dimensional, and so you can't I don't think you can like in good faith really like bitch about it too much with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. They're a funny case with where Brunson especially fits into this, only efficient shot chart style of thing, but actually does it in a way that isn't like homogenous. Like his shots look interesting, and this is the tension between all of this about is it overly optimized or is it not. Like he takes a bunch of shots close to the rim and he takes a bunch of threes, sure, but all of his shots close to the rim aren't just because like he got open. He's like 5'11". Like he like bumps off somebody.
He's fighting for his fucking life every minute. I mean, it's fun, and it's he's good at like. I mean, he's I love him. He's our Capitan.
Okay, last thing before we get you out of here. I was thinking about Blowback because I'm a huge fan. I DM'd you years ago before just when Blowback season 1 came out, because I just was like, it was just special, and it's funny. I mean, it's meticulously researched, but it's all kinds of wonderful things that I can say about it. But also, you guys should just check it out. But formally, it is very interesting because it is a narrative style. I'm a young podcaster at this time. I'm sort of thinking about this kind of stuff. It is a narrative style podcast that was most of the time in the history of public radio journalism or whatever, was delivered in a like pre-written narrative style, like basically reading an essay in, like poetry prose voice, NPR voice, whatever. And you guys decided to do it more narrative superstructure, but the structure was conversation and riffs and digressive and kind of more informal in how you did it. And I really just thought that formally was very fascinating. And it led me to this comp, which is the Blowback podcast. It is Patrick's laughing right now. But
I know where this is going.
Is the 2014-2015 Golden State Warriors, because you guys, you had it all, but what actually is revolutionary about it was the kind of slight formal shift that you guys did that has then been copied throughout. So what do you think that's that, and the conversation but narrative style being the kind of like barrage of 3-pointers?
I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting, thought-provoking, challenging, searching observation.
Thank you.
That doesn't at all flatter me greatly. No, I feel. I think for us, what's interesting is that the thing that you seize on the most, which is the idea of like this tension between making a narrative like audio documentary and having it also be like a kind of conversational thing in tone. We only did that for the first season. Like after like the subsequent seasons, for us to successfully do the things we wanted to do with them, it turned out that like that conversational thing wasn't really a thing that we could sustain. And also, like I would add that like when we made that first season, I had a full-time job. I was working for The Outline. Rest in peace. Yeah. Laid me off in April 2020, like 2 weeks after the show came out, which I'd been making in my spare time with Brendan James, who had been the original producer on Chapo, had taken a break from a couple different projects like that, and then he and I came up with this idea in 2019, and like we recorded it on weekends, and the notes and the script for it were like really not so tight. Like it was, it felt more. It was more associative and everything, but it also felt like, in terms of like the level of research and just like the like how it came across sonically, like all of the music stuff and production that Brendan kind of was able to bring to the subsequent seasons. Like to me, the the thing that we did that felt like if there's stuff that feels like it has been copied, is that we did, and this is the part of your remark I agree with the most, is that like you can make shit that doesn't sound like NPR. And that is like where it was like, because like basically, right, like Serial was an NPR show. Even if S-Town, Crime Town, a lot of these other ones, like even if they have like things that make them different, like the stories they tell, the content of the narratives and so on, orient in different ways that don't feel like they would be on National Public Radio, the patter, the level of humor, the swear words that you're allowed to have and the ones you're not, and like the assumption of like zero or total knowledge on the part of listeners in some situation. Like we just went with a different set of assumptions about like how we should do it. And Brendan in particular, kind of like he is the one who had it in his ear as like how it would sound as a finished product when we were doing it, when we were writing it and kind of conceiving of it. But yeah, I mean, I think like it's been interesting seeing, I won't say which, but like it has been interesting seeing other people try to make versions of Blowback or things clearly inspired by it, and that I'm honored that people like take it seriously enough to use it as a springboard or as an inspiration for how they make their own things. But like seeing identifying what I think of as like, oh, so here's how they approached like that aspect of like how you communicate a story with emotion or intensity, and their way of doing it was just to like kind of suck it out. But is how I often feel. But it's been interesting seeing that like, yeah, there have been people who now see that like, oh yeah, there aren't just talk shows. You can make other kinds of things that don't just sound like NPR programs.
And as someone who's writing a scripted show for Defector right now, the thing about Blowback that I've found sort of liberating is like a lot of audio experiences that are like telling a story of like something that happened in the past, kind of just like everything not everything, but a lot of stuff lapses into basically an annotated Wikipedia article. And the way to avoid that is to like have a point of view. And I think that's what I like about the writing of the show is like that it is very clear headed, but it's also like everything connects to everything else. It's not just like, here's the things that happened in sequence, like that there is a sort of incisiveness. Also, the theme song goes as hard as any piece of music I've ever heard in my whole life.
World Destruction by Time Zone with Africa Bambaataa. It's also in The Sopranos.
Really?
That's where I believe. I don't know if that's where Brendan first heard it, but it's definitely where I first heard it.
Yeah, surely not, right? The podcaster listening to The Sopranos,
watch The Sopranos. No, who would?
Yeah,
but not like Brendan and I have given each other multiple Sopranos themed gifts over the years. The other piece of that though is like I think having a point of view, like for us, it's also like we're doing history in the sense that like we're not telling a story about like we're not like there's no marching orders that we're giving to people about like how they're supposed to process current events. But where you can always, like kind of guide you with that is that if you do have a worldview and like a meaningful perspective about the world around you grounded in the present, then when you start telling stories about the past, it becomes very easy and pretty unconscious the ways in which you end up telling stories that like are about addressing anxieties and issues in the present. Like for example, our upcoming season is about Angola in Southern Africa, and Angola and independence and the civil wars there. And it's, long-standing war, essentially, with the South African government, which was a militarized apartheid state that sought to wage war on all of its neighbors until eventually it was forced to, destroy its own political order. Whether or not people can find contemporary analogs for such a situation, I don't know. But they might be able to. And
apartheid state, you said, huh?
So there is, it's having the idea of like there's like a world that you just take like the way you understand the world in the present, which most people have at least an attempt at that, and then you look at the past and, with the information that you're armed with, and also drawing on like narratives synthesized by other people. It's not like Brendan and I aren't like reading books and narratives that have been put together by others, as well as whatever primary research we do. Like, it becomes this act of synthesis in that way.
It's really interesting that you were saying and it makes sense. I was thinking about it at first. I was like, really? And then I was like, oh, okay, yes. About that the first season is delivered conversationally, and then the other ones are more narrative. Because as I was thinking back, like, of course, I get what you're saying in that, like, the process was totally different, but the feeling was still, I don't know if informal is the right word, but like Socratic or digressive or like, the feeling unlike an NPR, Disciple, which, like, again, like, there are plenty of, like, the pods that you listen to, that you talked about, Crime Town, Serial, S-Town, like, those are great pods.
Yes.
I love those. But the feeling of it being more, I guess not conversational, because I get what you're saying, but just more like, I don't know, more, you were talking like how me and my friends talk. Using the language, not the facts, because I didn't know shit about what you were talking about, but the language. And I think that was super powerful. So,
well, listen, describing Howard.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, like, describing Howard Hunt as woke bae, like, really, is a part of how we were able to relate him to the millennial Zoomers. But in general, though, like, yeah, I think part of it is just on the level of being able to clearly communicate in ways that, because this is the other thing, is that I do tend to believe that newspeak-ese, which is like a style of communication that exists like across multiple mediums and is trans ideological, is, this very just like a stilted form of delivery that is, not totally dissimilar to how police talk about how they've ascertained kinetic tactically, whatever. Like, there is like a way in which people trip over their own dick in this stuff, trying to not like if it's like, oh, I need to find a way to write or present information, but that won't be read as writing, but will be heard or spoken, spoken aloud or whatever. They overthink it to a point. And they overthink this, like, and they end up twisting because they want, like, they're like, well, but then, and it's like they assume conversational means to, like, sound like an elementary school teacher. And that's where I think the guidance that and the feedback when people ask for it that I tend to give on stuff is the like, lose the affect, lose the sense that you are self-consciously trying to like take seriously the idea that, like, you're telling a story, you are making a thing. And then, actually, Patrick, you'll appreciate this. Like, once upon a time, before he kind of had his brain broken by getting destroyed by Peter Thiel in court, Nick Denton had this amazing description of, like, Gawker being the site that would publish the stories that journalists would tell each other at the bar. And so it was all the information that, like, they knew among themselves, but that, like, they didn't publish. And
today's gossip is tomorrow's news, baby.
Well, and so, I think of it on this level of, it's like, you want to have, like, not so much that, like, our ethos is the Gawker ethos or anything like that, but it's just this idea that, like, you can speak, like, frankly and clearly, and in the sense of, as if you're telling a story to a friend at the bar. That then is how you would tell that story here. It just so happens that, like, you have Mr. McLuhan right next to you, and you can pull out Mr. McLuhan. And in our case, that'll be like, we've had the fortune to have somebody like Cy Hirsch or Elizabeth Becker, who won who like the great journalist covering Cambodia and so on. And that's where I feel that, like, we can, and because, yeah, that's the other thing, is that also, like, people are, like, allergic to doing journalism and, like, allergic to the idea of, it's like, what if we, like, picked up the phone? What if I, like, I don't know, like, knocked on somebody's door to be like, hey, I would like to talk to you about something. Like, just there's, like, all these different things that are out of fashion that, as Brendan and I kind of encountered them as we began to make the show, that then have, like, kind of proven to be, like, our métier.
Yeah. And the idea, like, of just thinking about the news speakeasy thing and just trying to, like, formalize and hedge everything, you basically end up sounding like Shams Charania.
Yes, no, totally.
Which is like a crazy
100.
voice to apply to like Afghanistan or something.
I will, but that's how it sounds to me. Or you sound like everything's true crime, and that's like where Brendan and I very jokingly talked about, like, you know, in our first trailers for season 1, we were like, what if it's a true crime story? And like people loved that shit because like at that time it was a bit more novel and less like jokey or cliche. But
now there's a lot of meta discourse about true crime.
Well, exactly. And so now it's the thing is that it's also like true crime is also now like that to me is the prevailing like form to like rage against, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're, you know, I mean, they like look at how they massacred my boy Errol Morris. Like the guy who invented the genre is now like being like forced to make like true TV level stuff essentially because that's like what these distributors want and what have you. So it's also like easy to stand out on the level of like, look at the garbage that like not just NPR, but like the video companies are like the streamers are putting out. And it's like, oh, like I myself with just my brain and a microphone could probably make something better than this.
Yeah. There's a lot to say about that, but it's very good. And we have one question about this, which is, if you were to make a Blowback season about a war that went on in the NBA, what could you go? What could you do 10 episodes on?
I think it's so. You know, since I read this, I thought about it, and it actually kind of came to me. So I want to go with a recent NBA thing because like most NBA history just feels like old man shit at this point, and it's also like I don't want to like do a season about Karl Malone's private life, but what I am interested in, is I think like part of what makes Blowback and how we make it is like you identify some characters, right? Like season 2, Fidel Castro. I think season 3, it's Douglas MacArthur, among others. You know, who are these people that like characters that an audience can like actually sink their teeth into, and I think in the NBA, one of the most interesting and strange people still playing, of course, is Jimmy Buckets. And I think that one of the funniest stories is him taking that Heat team to the finals. And I think that like part of what could make a Blowback season would be, you know, like you tell like just telling the story of how like this angry fucking guy who just wanted to win and like this angry weirdo like destroyed the city of Boston essentially. I think the idea of like telling the arc of that series, like I don't know if we could do a full season because doing a full season is already really hard when you're covering like 20 years of like Vietnamese history or whatever, you know? So like an NBA season is like a little micro, but I do feel like we could probably do a few episodes.
You could do the bubble. I think that
would have been a fucking great one. That is
the Rudy
a great
Gobert Mike moment, Obama breaking the strike.
Oh my god, yeah.
There are so many crazy like playing
Rachel
in front
Nichols,
of the fans.
phone call
yeah, Rachel Nichols
with Adam Mendelsohn. I'm fucking looking at you, Adam Mendelsohn.
What the hell happened to Daniel House?
The
everyone forgot about that.
I think the Obama call would be really fun because I do actually think that's the moment where I would go true crime, or I would be like. So we've had a couple times, like for a trailer and for like a skit in our season 1, we worked with H. John Benjamin, and I think I would want to ask John Benjamin if we could get him to do a recreation of the Obama phone call. Was it Obama called LeBron? Was that it?
LeBron and Chris Paul.
Yeah,
right?
Chris Paul.
Yeah, so I would love
and
to
their handlers, their CIA handlers.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like they're. I would love to imagine, actually, kind of like Robert Altman's Secret Honor style, like just invent and imagine, like, what is my version, my interpretation of what that conversation would be and what it says about our country.
I remember at the time being wrong about that and thinking like, you know, I'm sure Obama didn't personally break the strike. This is like a little too on the nose for just like all of the meta discourse swirling in the summer of 2020. But like, he did that. He did that shit.
So
it's
crazy. It's so funny to think about all of the. I mean, it's so hack at this point to point this out. It's so like done to death. But like, come on, man! Like all of the shit he never opened his mouth about, and the number of times I heard it's like, oh, Phoebe Bridgers. LeBron James Union, strike break, blah blah blah. Like, no, like fuck off, man. Like it's truly so annoying.
It's crazy. And like Kyrie being the guy to be like, why do we need owners? Let's just start our own league. Like all of that's just been forgotten in the way that like we sort of live in the long 2020 now, in the sense that like it defines a lot of our contemporary fractures, but also no one remembers it or like wants to talk about it. It makes me feel crazy. So there you go. Blowback season 8. Look out for it.
Yeah, exactly. The first step is I have to get Brendan to give a shit about basketball.
Take him to a Knicks game. It worked for you.
Yeah.
I've tried. We'll get him there. We will get him to the Garden.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was so fun.
No, this was amazing. This was everything I'd hoped it could be.
You guys know where to find Noah. Blowback. What actually number season is coming out?
This will be season 6.
Let's fucking go.
Our season.
Hell yeah.
So we've done Iraq, the Cuban Revolution, the Korean War, Afghanistan wars, like Cambodia and the rise of the Khmer Rouge, and now it will be the story of Angola, the heroic Cuban intervention, and much more. It's a really it's a great, exciting time. And if you want to listen to all of the show, go to blowback.show. You pay $25 and you can download every episode, full archives, totally ad-free. And this includes bonus episodes that you can only access through the paywall. And that includes interviews with people like, for example, I mentioned earlier, Seymour Hersh, as well as original, sort of shorter scripted one-off episodes like about the drug trade in the 70s. So give that a listen and sign up. And that will also mean that later this year, when season 6 drops, you will get all 20 new episodes straight into your vein, because we get these 10 episode season and we get 10 bonus episodes, and together that's 20 episodes. And we're hustling. We got even more. Hopefully we'll have more stuff to announce soon sometime.
Hell
Dude,
yeah.
Cannot tell you how worth it that is. That's
seriously.
like
Best deal in media.
crazy content deal. Dude, you can go to the YMCA and shoot 3 for 16 from 3 forever while just listening to these episodes as I've done.
Literally, yeah. Beautiful. All right. Well, we will see you guys on Thursday probably, or Friday, with got a little slate of special guests.